Hey beauties, welcome back to Real Girl Talk Podcast Radio. I am your host, Sherry Ricard. I'm a medical professional, business leader, author, speaker, and adversity recovery expert, bringing you fascinating guests, business, beauty, and lifestyle tips to help you create a beautiful life. And always committed to keeping it real. Now let's dive in. Hello, gorgeous. Thank you for joining me at Real Girl Talk Podcast. I'm delighted to have Master Certified Coach and former corporate HR leader, Emily Golden, and her new book, The New Golden Rule. In her book, she has an amazing approach throughout her book that helps you clarify your goals, shift underlying beliefs and habits, and take calculated risk and make quantum leaps rather than incremental improvements. Hello, Emily. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Sherry. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm excited about having you. I was telling you before we started recording that one of the things that jumped out to me was your new book, The New Golden Rule. And I think it's so cool that your last name is Emily Golden. Brilliant branding, right? The New Golden Rule. But what jumped out to me, because we have such a wide variety of listeners, is that the new golden rule is everything in life from relationships to the ability to ask for a raise at work. I know some people are going, wait, what? What'd she just say? How do I ask for a raise at work? Or build a successful business. So there are people that are trying to restart their businesses. They're trying to save their business. There are also some brave souls, risk takers out there that said, you know what? Actually, when there's a crisis, it's the best time to start a business. Like I said, they're in business. Maybe they're successful and they weren't affected by COVID, but we always can use some tips of the trade on, especially from something called the New Golden Rule. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about how we can apply the Golden Rule and just tell us a little bit about what the Golden Rule is about.
Sure. So we're all familiar with the old Golden Rule to treat others the way we want to be treated.
Yep.
And I'm just going to ask you for a moment to throw that right out the window. Because in my work, I have found that this way of thinking actually can breed righteousness and survival instincts. It has us thinking about what we're getting back from others. It has us feeling like or thinking, I treat that person so nicely and so I'm so kind and I'm not being treated that way in return. How dare they? Or how come this is so frustrating? Through my own transformational journey, I have found that it's the relationship that we have with ourselves that informs everything else in our life.
True.
So I've created the New Golden Rule. And the New Golden Rule says to treat yourself the way you want others to treat you. The New Golden Rule asks you to look at how you're talking to yourself. Are you being kind to yourself? Are you treating yourself with love and compassion or even like? Most of us, if we're honest, are not so kind to ourselves.
You're right.
And the New Golden Rule is all about embracing a level of self-compassion and love for ourselves, or even like for ourselves. I get love as a stretch, and applying that to every area, whether it is in the asking for a raise, in the starting of a business, in the building, the developing, the breaking through in relationships. So that is the New Golden Rule.
Well, let's talk about that. So in the Golden Rule, when it applies to relationships, and you say that we should be talking to ourselves and treating ourselves the way we want others to, and I truly believe that goes on just being worthy, right? You have to feel like you're worthy before you treat yourself that way. And I think that's where a lot of women slow down and say, well, I just don't know if I deserve that. I don't know that I am the best person for the job. Where do you start? Let's start with relationships and the Golden Rule. How can we use the New Golden Rule to form better relationships? I know we want to treat ourselves well, but what are some tips that we can immediately apply to maybe mend some relationships that we feel we have personally destroyed ourselves, or we just want to be able to have a closure? Where should we apply the rule in that aspect?
So that's a great question. And I just want to back up. I believe fundamentally that there are two parts of self.
Mm-hmm.
There's this golden self, highest and best you, the essence of who you are. And that golden self, it means that it's you are worthy no matter what, just because you are here, and because you were born. You are valued as a human because you exist.
Right.
And what's really important is, and I go over this in my book, is to be able to distinguish the unique characteristics of this golden self. So just for as an example, my golden self is defined as passion, radiance, wisdom, wit, and love.
Mm.
That is who I am, highest and best, highest and best.
Mm.
And when I get confused or I'm triggered or frustrated or anything, my golden self is my compass and my guide. So I will pause in a moment and ask
Mm-hmm.
myself, what does my highest self say? What does one of these 5 words say in the moment? And then there's this other side of us, and that is what I call the survival self. That's survival mode, that's survival instinct. It's not bad or wrong, and the goal isn't to have it go away. We all have it. It serves a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to know when we are taking action from that survival self.
Right.
Because action from that survival self is sure to give us certain, it's sure to give us certain we're taking automatic response or automatic action, and we're likely going to get certain automatics in return.
Mm-hmm.
So when you ask about relationships, how do we mend relationships? Oftentimes, when you are in relationship with someone and there is a breakdown, you are fighting, you are disagreeing about something, there's tension, you're often doing the tango with survival selves, right? So it's not, if it's highest and best to highest and best, you're able to see each other for who you are, and there's a level of acceptance for who you are and who you're not. But we are often coming from this survival mode, and that survival mode is born of fear. It's protective. It has to defend. Again, nothing wrong, and serves a purpose. And if you're looking to build a deeper level of intimacy in relationships, you want to be coming from this golden self. And it's really not about doing it perfectly. It's just practicing being intentional as to where you're coming from.
That makes perfect sense, Emily. Thank you for explaining that. I know there's something that you also talk about in this book, and I'd like for you to share it, but it is a 3-step process for total life improvement. Because we all want some type of improvement. If everybody says, oh, I just have a perfect life and I have plenty of money in my relationships, it's just like all rainbows and unicorn. I don't believe that. I don't believe we all live with the pixie dust where everything is great. We should first and foremost have gratitude for everything that we have and everything that we do, because I think so much a lot of times we focus on what we don't have rather than what we do have. But we're always looking for improvement. So help us with that. What is the 3-step process?
So first off, if we are not growing, we are dying. And while that sounds dramatic, I truly believe that. And I am committed wholeheartedly to growing my entire life until the day I take my last breath. I say to my husband all the time, like I will be growing until you might have to hook me up from the hospital with a phone system so that I can be coaching my clients, because I grow when I coach, for sure.
I do too.
So,
I do too.
The 3-step process is, first off, this, what I call the archaeological dig, and that is where we unearth the golden self. And I walk the reader through this process in the book. This is where we distinguish golden self from survival self. It's really critical to understand both of these parts of you as the first step. The second step, how do you apply the new golden rule? So it's living the new golden rule. It's
Mm-hmm.
creating a vision for yourself from an empowered place. It's creating a vision not because someone said you should want that or that's what everyone else wants. It's creating a vision from a place of true desire because you
Mm.
want it. And then the second step also includes applying coaching tools that I provide in the book. I provide a lot of my favorite coaching tools in the book. My goal with this book is to put into the hands of as many people as possible the gold that comes with coaching, that
Mm-hmm.
not everyone is able to take advantage of in a one-on-one coaching relationship. And then the third step is following the new golden rule roadmap. So this is really the how, creating this transformation for yourself. So how do you apply now these two parts of self, this vision that you've created and these tools? How do you stay on task? And the critical component of well-being. Well-being is the foundation of anything that we create in our life. And when I
Mm.
talk about well-being, I'm talking about everything from how much sleep we get to how much food we, to the type of food we eat, to the
Mm-hmm.
exercise that we do and the movement we get, to the way that we're talking to ourselves.
Right.
And so part of this process of the how is checking in consistently on that well-being. And when
Mm.
there is a breakdown in well-being, there is going to be a breakdown in other areas of your life, and it's
Right.
inevitable.
Right. You're absolutely right because it's all about balance, right? We have to have some type of balance. And I think that many of us, we focus in one area of our life or we're pulled into that area of our life where we're more comfortable and we're actually already have success in. And so we're pulled there. We have somebody that may be really into physical fitness and they get up every morning and they're just really diligent. I'm super jealous of those people. But anyway, those people are just really disciplined and they get up, but they spend a lot of their time in emotional chaos because their mental is not right. Their physical looks amazing, but their mentality and the way they make decisions and their emotional well-being, or it could just be the relationships. They can't manage their relationships, or they may have a poor work ethic. They may not be able to manage work or their business, but physically they look like they have it all together. So I think it is a lot about balance. We do tend to lean towards those things that we're best in. I find that I am, after everything that I've been through and all of my adversities and challenges and pains and losses, especially that of my son, I find that I am stronger emotionally than I am anywhere in my life. Okay, so the emotional helps me with my mindset, but where my weakness is to keep myself physically fit. That's where I struggle. So what do? I avoid it and I focus more of my time on my emotional strength because I'm better at it and I'm good at it. So I totally get the balance that you have to have. And you have a lot of expertise in corporate America, which I do as well. So I'd like for you to share a little bit, because when you said you can use some of the golden rule to ask for a raise, there's people right now that are going, I deserve more. I want to ask, but I'm afraid. They're afraid of the rejection. They're afraid of what's going to be said, or somebody's going to devalue them and it's going to take them a step back. So for someone that is maybe doesn't have their own business, but they are working and a larger industry or small business, but they're really making a footprint, how do we use the golden rule to go in and actually ask for a raise?
We stay inside of our comfort zone because it's what's known and what's familiar,
Mm.
and it's what's easy for us, and it's so easy to get stuck there. And I love surrounding myself with people who call me forth and pull me out of my comfort zone to do
Mm-hmm.
things that are new and different.
Right,
It sounds like you do too.
right.
So asking for a raise, first off, applying the new golden rule means that you're being kind to yourself and that you're really honoring yourself and the unique value that you bring to the organization. So get clear on the unique value that you bring to the organization. Number one. Number two, the relationship that you have with your boss and with your manager, whoever you're asking of, is important and not to be stepped over. Now, I get that not everyone has a great relationship with who they report directly into. But I would really encourage you to make the request from a place of connection, and a place of gratitude for the job that you do have. Right? As opposed to what's missing, like I'm not getting paid enough and how dare they, and I should be treated better, right? Come from the place of gratitude and what is right. Know your value. And then third, make the ask. Don't wait until you are comfortable and there is no fear in your space, because you will be waiting for the rest of your life.
That's so true.
People say to me, Emily, I want to work together because once I have confidence, and that's what I want to work on with you. Once I have confidence, then I'll ask for the raise. I'll go get the new job. I'll do the thing. And I'm like, time out. You got it all wrong.
Right.
You got it backwards. Confidence is a result of taking action and failing and getting back up and leaning into fear and failing again and getting back up. That's what builds confidence. Right. Confidence is not like I'm going to ask and I'm going to know I'm going to get it. It's actually not about whether or not you get that raise. Right. So don't hang your hat on that. Well, I was successful because I got the raise. The success is in the asking. The success and the breakthrough is in the standing for what you believe in. Know your value, be in relationship, and make the ask even when you're scared.
Okay, because those are some really true, valid steps in going in and asking for a raise, because you're right. If you're waiting to not be afraid to go in and ask for a raise, you're going to be waiting a long time. So I believe in doing it afraid, and that is truly where you gain a lot of that confidence, that self-trust that you have, that you are valuable in that organization. And you may even want to lay out some reasons why you feel like you're valuable, but I think coming to them with an attitude of gratitude first, and then creating your, value proposition in that organization, and then just taking action. Because if you don't ask, you're not going to receive. Going to be standing around waiting for them to find value in you before you find that value in yourself. And I'm a true believer, and I say this all the time, is that people value you to the extent that you value yourself. The minute that you say, you have crossed my standards, you have crossed my boundaries, and you don't tolerate disrespect, they won't treat you with disrespect. But if whatever you allow is how people are going to treat you. And I think that goes back to what you said about the way you talk to yourself and the way you treat yourself, because people know, call it energy, call it whatever it is, aura, I don't know what you want to call it. People know those that walk in confidence. You don't have to be the most beautiful person in the room and have the best outfit and the most money and all of this to walk with confidence. That is a bunch of bull. You can have someone walk into the room with pure confidence and self-esteem, and they will glow when they walk into the room.
People treat you the way you treat yourself. I mean, it's such basic knowledge, and yet it is so underutilized. I have a 16-year-old daughter, and if she walks away from this home and launches with no other information or wisdom, it's that, right? She tells me this all the time. I have been feeding it to her from a young age.
Right. And you talk about emotional intelligence at work, and I think that people pick up on that as well. And that emotional intelligence at work, do you have tips, or do you have a step process to be able to gain that as well?
I have studied the work of Dr. Reuven Bar-On, and Dr. Reuven Bar-On's work came ahead of Dr. Daniel Goleman. who came on the scene in the 1990s, and he's
Mm-hmm.
well known to be the father of emotional intelligence. But Baron's work is actually precedes his, and both of them are brilliant. But just to be clear, when I talk about emotional intelligence, I'm specifically empowering a definition of emotional and social skills that collectively establish how well we perceive and express ourselves, how well we develop and maintain social relationships, how well
Mm.
we cope with emotional information in an effective and meaningful way, and how well we deal with challenges.
Mm.
I talk specifically in my book about self awareness, emotional expression, interpersonal relationships, and stress tolerance. These are four of Baron's 15 emotional intelligent subcomposites. They happen to be the ones that, for me, occur as the most critical in the
Mm.
coaching context. And that doesn't mean that the other areas are not incredibly important.
Right.
I use an assessment actually in coaching engagements where we do a baseline assessment of where the client is, and we'll also sometimes go out to the people in the client's world, clients, peers, manager, direct reports, and we'll do a 360 assessment so that we can get a sense for what the person's the perception of their emotional intelligence is. So you've
Mm.
got emotional intelligence, the read of the individual, and then the perception from others, and that can often be really eye-opening.
Right.
It is such a fascinating body of work, and one of the reasons I'm particularly passionate about emotional intelligence and framing it up this way is because with intention and focus, we can grow our emotional intelligence.
Right.
Having situations and challenges and traumas like what you've experienced, um, we have an opportunity for what's called post-traumatic growth, right? That's always available. We can use experiences from life to really tone the muscles in our mind, to build. And IQ, intellectual quotient, is fixed, in the early 20s, but
Mm.
EQ continues to grow. Studies show into your 60s. So if you can grow your EQ, why not? And the first step is to know what your baseline is.
Right. I love that because in a 360 assessment, when you just said how you perceive yourself, I'm just kind of summing it up how you said how you perceive yourself and how others perceive you sometimes can be eye-opening. We actually did a little thing. My dad passed away 2.5 years ago, but my daddy was so funny, and we just would laugh at him all the time at the crazy stuff he said. He was one of these guys that would sing off tune to the radio, and he would always dance just a half a beat off, and he was just hilarious to me. But dad also had certain things that we just knew about him. We knew what made him mad, and we knew what would set him off, and those kind of things. And we just knew his personality because he had such a strong personality. I think that's where I get it mine. But we did a game on Father's Day, and we were all gathered around this big table at a restaurant. And I think my mom brought the game, but it was called Roasted. And so we decided we were going to roast my dad. I don't know if that's the right thing to do on Father's Day, but we made it fun, right? So it was things like we would pull a card, and we would ask, we would say, what would daddy do in a certain situation? And we would all write down what we thought. And 9 times out of 10, we were all pretty much on target with what we thought how dad would react to a situation. But then we started realizing his facial expressions, like, you think that's how I would act? And we're like, yeah, dad, we know this is how you would act. And I think it got to be to the point where it's like, I don't think we should play this game anymore, because his perception of how he saw himself or how he would react was completely different than the entire family. And it was like, dad, no, this is how you are. This is what you would do. And he was so funny because he just kind of laughed it off, right? But as we're walking out of the door of the restaurant, he goes, I'm going to work harder on those things. It really affected him. And we felt so bad because we were trying to make it fun, and funny. We thought that he would agree with us. But I would tell you, probably 50% of what we did in the game, he disagreed with. He said that's not what he would do. And we were like, oh, yes, you would. The whole family agrees. So I think that I say all that story. First of all, I love to talk about my daddy because he's not with me anymore and I loved him dearly. But it's funny because we all, I think, do that. I think that sometimes, and we'll get angry, right? If somebody says, well, I know what you would say, or I know how you would act. And you go, well, what do you think I would say? How do you think I would act? And then when they tell you, which is the opposite of what you think that you would do, you get offended. So I would venture to say that 360 assessment really is eye-opening to a lot of people, and they probably have to take that pride pill and swallow it.
I love that example that you gave, and it really brings to life the impact of the reflection from other people you love and respect. And what I'll say is, yes, absolutely, it can be triggering and it can be eye-opening, and there's all kinds of survival self-reactions, right? There's the reaction of, that's not true. Who said that? Or I know who said that and they're wrong. And these are the reasons that they're wrong. I've heard it all, probably not all, but I've heard a lot of it. Yeah. And what I say is, like, let's not judge it. And let's notice where you're having thoughts, feelings, and body sensations, because likely where you are reacting, there's something for us to look at. If your reaction is no, that's not me, or that could never be me.
Yeah.
Likely there's a part of you don't really like very much, or that you are rejecting or resisting.
Yeah.
And maybe just even, like looking at that part and learning to accept that piece of you has it be far less of a problem. It's not a problem, right? I don't know, but it is such a powerful experience. And frankly, if I could sum up what I love about coaching most, it's that. It's being in a relationship where there is trust and where coach can reflect powerfully to client what is really happening from the coach's perspective, what the coach is seeing or hearing. We don't operate that way in relationships, mostly.
Emily, thank you so much. Tell everybody where we can find you if someone's wanting to tap more into some of this aspects of their life, whether it be in business or in corporate or just in the relationships. What type of people actually reach out to you for coaching? Where is your specialty in coaching?
Sure. So I work with high performing individuals who are working, and they could either be working in their own business or who are working in corporations, who are struggling with enoughness, like they feel like maybe they're not enough, or there's some imposter syndrome. They're struggling with communicating their value. So that's one population that I work with. I also, I love working with perfectionists. I'm a recovering perfectionist myself. And I work across industries. So I have experience at this point in almost every industry, for-profit, nonprofit, huge companies, small companies. So that's the work I do around the executive and leadership coaching. And then I have another part of my business, which is to support people who are looking to make a career pivot and they're not sure where to go. They know that they want to make a move. They're not doing work that satisfies them, and they don't know where to go. And they may be out of work, or they may be actively engaged right now with work, but they're just not satisfied. So those are the two different types of individuals that I work with.
Nice. So where can we find you?
The best place to go is thenewgoldenrule.info. And that is the website for the book. So you can find information on how to buy the book, and also how to get in contact with me to schedule a consult if that's something you're interested in.
Perfect. And now, are you on social media as well?
I am. I play mostly on LinkedIn. I am also on Facebook a bit, but I really spend most of my time on LinkedIn. I just ventured out into Clubhouse. I'm not fully up and running there yet.
Yeah, I heard of Clubhouse. I actually had someone that invited me to Clubhouse, and I thought, oh my gosh, I don't have time for another social media because I mostly stay in Facebook and Instagram. That's pretty much my little platform that I stay. So are you not on Instagram at all?
I am on Instagram, and we're actually just my team and I are in the process of building that out.
Nice.
That is at Emily Golden MCC.
Well, thank you so much, Emily. I appreciate you. I have learned quite a bit. And as always, with my aspiring guest, I always have my little notes, right? I have all my notes that I take because I have a book of knowledge. I should write a book on the knowledge from the people that wrote the books on the knowledge. I should write a book.
So wonderful.
The most aspiring guest of Real Girl Talk podcast. I just got an idea. I should write a book on everything that I've learned from all of these women all around the world. I mean, just incredible. My show is coming up this week with a lady from Africa. She's amazing. I mean, just really incredible women all over the world. And I feel so blessed to meet everyone. I'm very blessed to meet you. And
I love this idea.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
I'm going to check in with you and find out how that book is going in a few weeks.
I should. I literally should write. I'm actually just sitting here thinking I'll have to run it by some people that help me because this would be an incredible book if you picked it up and it says the most aspiring guest of Real Girl Talk podcast and what I've learned. I know there's a catchier title than that, but I could really pour it on and you wouldn't have to listen to all the episodes.
Who wouldn't want to listen to all the episodes?
Well, thank you, Emily. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much for inviting me on the show. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for tuning in all the way through Real Girl Talk. Make sure you subscribe anywhere you listen to podcasts. And if you happen to have iTunes, would you do me a huge favor and leave us a rating and review of the show? That's the way that we get this message out to more and more people around the world. And giving us a review and rating, something good is going to come back your way. Plus, I know you're the type of person that wants others to live their best lives. So can you copy this link, share it to your friends, share it on social media? Remember, people need to be inspired. They need to have tips. They need to have business ideas more than ever right now. And I know that you can help me on this mission. Thank you again so much. If you want to be a supporter of the show, go back to realgirltalkpodcast.com, click Be a Supporter. Thank you again from the bottom of my heart for being a part of Real Girl Talk podcast. And until next week, keep your encouragement tank full, your faith in God, and create your beautiful life.